Hey everybody, welcome tonight to our Community Conversations event. We're just going to wait a few seconds here and give people a little chance to jump online here before we get started into our topics. But it's Thursday once again, and we are glad to have you here. It's been an eventful week. Went and voted. Early voting started on Tuesday. And so if you live in the city, you can go vote for mayor. And the early voting is actually just down the road at North Main Street on North. And just a little bit past the downtown square on the north side there at the Board of Elections, at the Allen County Board of Elections here in Lima. So once again, Tuesday started early voting. So if you are planning on voting, get out and do it early. And get us off to a hot start here, and bring it home, do the work. Time for action. So, but without further ado, here I wanted to get into a pretty serious topic here for everybody tonight. We wanted to talk specifically about the violence issues that we're having in our city. Especially violent crimes, drug problems, drug issues that we're having. I wanted to kind of talk about that problem and read a couple of articles from the news, from some different places, and then we're going to look at this issue a little bit differently. Look at this issue from a different perspective, and I'm going to read an article that someone wrote in the Washington Post about Washington, D.C. So let's go ahead and just kind of jump into this. I'm going to be clicking onto my computer here, pulling up some articles. So if I'm kind of looking through the screen, that's what I'm doing. So first article that I wanted to read tonight is one that hit the newspaper actually today. And it says Lima area sexual assaults climbed during the pandemic. And it says people sheltered at home in 2020 to try to feel safe in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. Instead, more people in the region found themselves sexually assaulted than in 2019, with a 20% increase in the number of sexual violence survivors served by Crime Victim Services. There were a lot of families together in the home. We saw some increases in people being assaulted by family members or close friends who are part of the COVID bubble. That includes more assaults on children. Those increased numbers are despite numbers reports falling in March, April, May, and June early in the pandemic. That's a grim reality to consider as the region marks Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. It's something to consider while looking at the Umbrella Project display at the Lima Mall, where survivors and their advocates painted umbrellas with messages to bring awareness and hope, or to find tables with information about resources available. This problem is everyone's business, Lima Mayor Berger said. Let us end the silence and be reminded every day that we all have a chance to generate a revolution for the future of our community by bringing an end to sexual violence. And it goes on. So this is one thing that's happening in our city right now. We're seeing increase in sexual assaults during the pandemic. One of the other articles that I was actually looking for, an article that appears to not be on the internet anymore and not be associated with the Lima News, but it said that in 2020, our crime rates went down a little bit, but our violent crimes went up, way up. So I couldn't actually find that article, but I did find one, and this one is from Hometown Stations. And it talked about that 2020 was a difficult year in the city of Lima, and it was especially unusual when it came to crime. Lima Police Department handled 12 homicides in 2020, up from the average of 5 murders a year in the last few years. And so we see that, violent crime has increased. We had incidents of a triple murder. We had a murder-suicide in our city, stabbings. There was a lady that was murdered in a house fire. So that we have these issues in our city, and we've worked to combat these issues as a city and a community for quite a while, but we're seeing that what we're doing isn't working. If what we were doing was working, these numbers would be going down and staying down consistently. So, we start to ask ourselves, what other ways can we look at this? Is it really, is the answer really increasing more and more law enforcement, or is the answer doing things a little bit differently? Other things that we find, articles in the newspaper most recently, illegal narcotics currency found during drug raid in Lima apartment. Lima woman found slumped over steering wheel, jailed on drug charges. Drugs, stolen gun discovered in raid. Search of Lima motel turns up suspected drugs and currency. Bond revoked for Lima woman charged in drug-related death. And so we see that, this is something that's very prevalent in our news. It's something that's covered by the newspaper. Our criminal justice system is very, very busy. If you ever read the court docket, Lima drug dealer gets 6 years in prison sentence. So this is something that is affecting our community. It's affecting our families. And, with these kind of incidents that we see, sometimes we see a person in the family go to jail and be separated from their family. And what that does is creates more hardship and struggle. And so, maybe looking at how we address some of these problems in our city to prevent them more than react to them. And so I want to bring an approach where we are working to prevent problems, where we are working to create stability and foundation for people. So perhaps they may not get mixed up in some of these messes. They may not get into some of these issues that they're facing now. Bad decisions are definitely part of the problem, but some people feel that they don't have a choice, they don't have other opportunities, and when they can't make it in a positive way, they're going to make it some way. And I think that these are things that we've got to look into, understanding that, the stress and the struggle and the suffering that, we all face, that is heightened during certain events like the pandemic event that we've had, like some of the political and social unrest that we've experienced. We've got to understand that these things do affect our families, they do affect our societies, and we've got to find ways to create safety nets and to create stability for people in our communities so we can prevent these problems instead of just working to police it more. Let me pull up this other article here. This article is actually by a guy named Maurice Jackson, and he's a history professor at Georgetown University, and he is the chair of the D.C. Commission on African American Affairs. And so this article was shared to me by one of the lovely ladies that works on our campaign. And she said, check this out. She said, this is a lot about what you've been talking about. And this guy, who is a history professor at Georgetown University and is the chair of the DC Commission on African American Affairs, really put it very eloquently in this article. So I just wanted to take a moment to read this article here. And it says that it's titled, and you can find this on Washington Post. You can Google it and search for it, but it says, "Why Police Can't Fix Urban America's Violent Crime Problem." Okay, so this sounds really backwards than what we've been thinking as, this Western thinking society is, if something's not working, then do it more. If something isn't having a big impact, then we need to do it bigger. Sometimes the solution that people come up with is throw more money at it. And so what I've found more importantly is to sometimes work to change our approach. I think we've got to get to understand why we have these problems. We've really got to focus on the root cause instead of just trying to be reactive and treat symptoms of a bigger systemic problem. So let me read this article here. And this is once again by Maurice Jackson. And he says, last May, and this was written and published actually September 3rd, 2015. And so about 5.5 years ago now. But it says, last May, newly elected DC Mayor Muriel Bowser met with city youths to discuss their concern about policing and urban violence. Bowser insisted that the key to preventing the kind of riots that had raged in Baltimore and Ferguson, Missouri, is to listen to young people's grievances and provide them with better opportunities. They want to share with adults and government officials and the police what they have experienced in their neighborhoods, and it's high time we listen, she said in a radio interview about the town hall meeting. 3 months and more than 30 homicides later, Bowser laid out her plan to combat the surging homicide rate in D.C., but instead of presenting programs and strategies that address the root causes of youth violence, Bowser held a news conference to call for greater police presence, more aggressive law enforcement tactics, and harsher criminal penalties. Some of these very strategies that Black Lives Matter activists are protesting. Predictably, those activists shouted her down. City leaders too often treat aggressive policing as a cure to urban violence, especially when that violence boils over into rioting. For local officials, law enforcement is an easy fallback, but it misses the mark. Violence is not just a matter of law and order, it's a matter of inclusion and opportunity. Urban areas across the country are experiencing a disturbing spike in violence. In D.C., 105 people have been killed so far this year, and many were killed, and as many as were killed in all of 2014. There have been killings on the grounds of a Catholic church at a bus stop. People have been shot while riding a bike and riding the subway. Too often, the victim of the perpetrator is a child. Last month, a 17-year-old shot his 12-year-old neighbor. There have been similar crime waves in cities from Baltimore to St. Louis, cities where there has been unrest and slowdown in policing, and cities where there has not. Among the nation's 35 largest cities, homicides are up 19% and non-fatal shootings have risen in 62% of the cities. But that's not the whole story. There are troubling disparities in the resource and opportunities available to residents in the nation's capital depending on the neighborhood. In October 2013, residents of the predominantly Black Ward 8 had an unemployment rate of 24.2%, nearly 10 times higher than the residents who just live 5 miles away in the predominantly white Ward 3. While this disparity has narrowed, Ward 8 residents are still 3 times more likely to be jobless. Rising poverty in the nation's capital has been experienced primarily by Black and Latino residents who have been displaced by an influx of predominantly white, high-income professionals. There's a growing income gap worldwide. There's a growing income gap nationwide. A 2011 study by the Sage Foundation and Brown University found that U.S. middle class is shrinking, with 1/3 of families either living in poverty or affluence, up from 15% in 1970. This kind of disparity breeds hopelessness, which drives people into acts of desperation and violence. Marginalization and alienation are dynamite just waiting for a match. People don't suffer in silence forever. Their pain always finds a way to express itself. As long as the levels of social and economic inequality exist, no city can absolve itself in the waves of violence. No city can be riot-proof. Systemic problems require systemic solutions. Police alone cannot stop urban violence. It requires action on every front. We need apprenticeships that provide career pathways to jobs in government, technology, hospitals, and educational institutions. Unions need to reach out to inner-city youths to help them find routes in construction jobs and other growing industries that offer apprenticeships, upward mobility, and lasting opportunities. The criminal justice system and local business owners must give people with minor criminal records a real chance to succeed, and universities like Georgetown must open their classrooms not only to students seeking four-year degrees, but also offer its expertise to underserved communities that need skills and training for high-demand healthcare, and also IT and paralegal professions. So this is, once again, an excerpt from an article that was written by Maurice Jackson, who's a history professor at Georgetown University and chair of the D.C. Commission on African American Affairs. So he is saying that, essentially, as we work to combat our violent crime problem and our drug addiction issues, that we really need to focus more on creating and fostering a community that doesn't allow these problems to manifest. Something that we're looking more towards prevention, towards building something in that place instead of waiting for people to mess up and get into problems and putting them in jail. So that's an article from Maurice Jackson, and I had a few other things that I wanted to. I had one more thing that I wanted to read, and this is a little bit longer in effect, and this is something that I wrote myself, and I'm going to try to read this in a timely manner here. But this is something that I think that, when we point out these problems and we talk about these issues that we're experiencing in our city, we always have to come up with a solution-oriented focus afterwards. And so, we've got to really take a good look at things. We can't ignore things. We can't put our head in the ground and say this isn't happening in our city. But we've actually also got to, provide solutions and to begin this dialogue with people. And that's not to say I know everything, but we can start to begin this dialogue with people where we can include others around us and we can all work together to create the best outcome for our city and for the people that live here. So this is a part of a press release that I wrote back in December, and we did a press release and we spoke about the opiate problem that we have in our city, the drug problem that we've been facing right now. Right now we've got issues with not only opiates and prescription drugs that are coming out of the hospitals, but crack is back in Lima. Meth is a problem around here. Also heroin and things like fentanyl. And, these are kind of things that we're seeing, issues with drug overdoses, and for every person that, that is found, to have a drug overdose or that goes to the hospital, a lot of them are really unreported, and a lot of people, are perishing in our city at the hands of some of these drugs. So I wanted to read this that I wrote a few months ago, and I was introducing a 5-point plan to our city to relieve the drug and opiate epidemic that we currently experience. So I'm going to go ahead and read this here. So it says, as we outline this 5-point plan, I want to stress that it is a working model, a work in progress. I'm not going to say that I have all of the answers, but we do have a solid base to build off to bring the kind of change that we wish to see. We look forward to working with local organizations to help support them and to help them work together to create positive outcomes in recovery. We are advocating a multifaceted approach to a multifaceted problem. So the first part of our plan is to increase public awareness. Believe it or not, many people do not know the seriousness of the opiate problem in our region and in our country. In 2016, Ohio ranked second in the United States in opiate-related deaths. Drugs like OxyContin, Vicodin, fentanyl, and heroin. These drugs are given to people for things like post-surgical pain, traumas, or severe neurological pain, but can quickly lead to dangerous addiction. Through a public awareness campaign, we work to end the stigma of addiction, urge people to seek treatment, and inform everyone on the dangers of these prescription drugs. We accomplished this with the local advertising public service announcement campaign, with real statistics, real stories of real people who have experienced addiction, reminding the people that having this talk with your kids could save their lives. Secondly, we look to increase access to holistic treatment and recovery services. Our 2 major hospitals here serve a 13-county region, so a lot of people are coming to our city for a variety of health issues, including addiction and recovery treatment. We need to examine our current methods, find out which organizations are most effective and which ones are open to integrating more holistic methods and support them to accomplish their missions. When I say holistic methods, I mean chiropractic, breath work, massage, meditation, nutrition, spiritual practice and devotion, all methods that take the mind-body-soul connection into account. Opportunities to learn new coping mechanisms and to be incubated from society for a period of time in sober living homes. Changing a lifestyle requires support in changing habits, people, places, and things. All must be taken into account. The third on the list, and number 3, is increasing availability and affordability to highly nutritious foods, safe natural herbs, and supplements. We do this in a few ways. First, we work to decriminalize cannabis in our city. This is done with the passing of a citywide ordinance to lower all misdemeanor cannabis-associated crimes to the lowest penalty allowed by state law, which is a $0 fine. We are in the process of collecting signatures right now to get this petition proposed to the city of Lima and to be on the ballot in November. Now, before we get a lot of radical objections on this matter, please understand that this has been done in 22 other cities in Ohio, and the first to do it was Toledo in 2015. So we're talking 6 years ago. Cannabis is a safe alternative to opiates for pain relief, and in states where it has been decriminalized, prescription drug and alcohol sales have actually decreased. It is also effective for a variety of other ailments, including PTSD, cancer, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel disease, and Alzheimer's disease. In addition to allowing people to use cannabis without fear of criminal prosecution, we plan to create a city-sponsored local apothecary group. These organizations are placed in the neighborhoods that need access the most. 12 local stores with nutritious staple foods like healthy bread, local honey, vitamins, supplements, and herbs. Increasing access and availability. While those 2 hurdles are easily cleared, the third is affordability. What we have to do is get more creative. Most people are in a position to take what is offered for free through their medical insurance. They purchase something that doesn't contribute to their health and wellness. It's time to level the playing field. I propose a local economy that is based on health and wellness. Local influx of cash to our citizens in the form of Lima dollars that can be only spent at the city-sponsored wellness stores. This allows us to increase access, availability, and affordability to preventative, nutritious foods and to help establish foundational wellness in our city. So those are the first 3 steps. The fourth part of the plan takes into account why we are having this problem. 65% of people who misuse prescription opiates begin with pain relief, and 80% of heroin users begin with a prescription drug that came from their doctor. So what are we going to do with all this pain? I believe we need access to wellness visits with chiropractors, massage therapists, nutritionists, and through community programs, because no longer can we afford to pretend these problems don't exist and continue throwing pills at our pain. It isn't working. So the local and natural holistic practitioners and local wellness currency, we create an industry of health and wellness, put it right in the neighborhoods that need it the most. Prevention of disease is money well spent. Education towards health and wellness, putting people on a self journey towards living a better life. That's what this plan is really about. The fifth part of this plan is to improve our neighborhoods, restore abandoned and dilapidated homes, remove unsightly buildings, and create functional spaces that serve as places for gathering to foster community connection. Because one thing I've found is that more people heal from the most miraculous things with the help of the community around them, more so than they ever could from a doctor or a pill. We need safe neighborhoods with functional spaces, gardens, outdoor markets, gathering spaces for the people in our community. This 5-step plan really encompasses everything that creates the problem that we have, and it works to focus on the root of the issues that we face instead of just treating the symptoms. And so we've really got to, go back to creating that foundation for our people and our community. And we're going to see as a result, these things that we deal with, like the violent crime and the drug issues, we're going to see these things naturally come down. That's not to say we're not going to always need police, or we're not going to always need our service organizations to help. But what we need is more functioning people, more people that are contributing to society, and less punitive society, less punishing people and putting them in jail. We need to foster and create a place where it nourishes people to where they're making good decisions and prospering in the society that they're growing. So to close here, and we're going to take questions, I've been working in Lima, growing the natural health community for over 10 years. Linking people, developing networks for a time just like this. Our current system has reached critical mass, meaning that we will never have enough doctors, we will never have enough teachers, we will never have enough healers in this city to combat the problem that we're facing right now. We need to get to preventative care, and we need to create foundational health and wellness for the people in our city. So it's time to bring effective solutions to the forefront and put the backing of a focused and informed local government behind it. I'm ready not only to organize a concentrated effort to relieve the opiate epidemic, but I believe that we can create a city known for health and wellness. It's time for the last to become the first. And so that's just the beginning of what we can do with our city, working to create an industry that nourishes our people. And when we're able to do that, that's what I explain to people, it's like being fed twice, because we're creating jobs in an industry that's definitely needed within our city, and our people are benefiting from the jobs that we are creating. So that's really about what I had to share with everybody tonight. Let's see here, what time is it? Oh, about a half hour. So I want to allow everybody an opportunity to maybe ask some questions if you want to tonight. Any questions about what we spoke about tonight? Any questions about policing, law enforcement, criminal justice system, cannabis, crime rates in Lima, Ohio, anything like that? We're open to questions. Also, any questions about anything else that we've had going on? So let me kind of scroll through here and see if my dog is so good when I'm online here. Okay. Creative funding opportunities, ideas you may have to provide support programs for those battling addiction. Yeah, I do. I think that sometimes that we need to not only help those people, but we need to help them be in a place where they can help themselves. And so I'm an advocate for natural medicine, being in nature, planting and growing your own food. I think that we need programs within our city to put not only those that are struggling with addiction, but those may be struggling with poverty, those may be struggling with homelessness, and give them opportunities to work in community gardens where we're growing food for the people in our community. And also, one of the things that I really like, that I'd like to add to this idea that I really think is a little bit unique, but I think that we could pay people at the end of every day that they work. So we may have, a work crew that moves in and out and that comes in and out, but we would be flexible and in a way that we could pay people every day that they come to work to help them kind of instill and to grow into that sense of pride of being able to plant food, support their community around them, and also, earn a living and an income. And these jobs are more, inclined to promote rehabilitation, promote personal and spiritual growth, growing things and spending time in the earth, really changes a lot of our mindset and a lot of things that are going on in our body. So let's see. Chris said hello. What's up, Chris? Let's see. Any other questions here? Questions. Scrolling. Celia says, yes, it's mental, physical, and spiritual disease. It's not just drugs, but anything that leaves us empty. Absolutely. We work to combat those types of issues with community, with relationships with people around us. I always think about, a lot of times I think about how we used to live versus how we live now. And I think that when we start to look at, how we used to live in communities and groups, relationships with people around us, large support groups, a lot of times we were all working together. Everybody was working to grow food, or there was a group of people that would work to build shelters, things like that. But we were all working together to do something that contributed to our city. And there became a time period where a lot of our workers and a lot of our role players within our society left that society, or left the farm, or left the group, and they started to go to work in factories, or they started to go to work in other places. And we're missing those people in our community. We're missing those jobs they fulfilled, and we're missing those people. And I think that we've got to bring a lot of that back. We got to focus on bringing jobs to our community that contribute to the people around us. And I think that people are going to go for that. I think that that's how we, as one person said, how we compete with the welfare system. Let's see. Justin Schoonover says, what is your opinion on Lima properties? I know you're about growing the community by starting with citizens, but have you seen living conditions of a lot of the housing units by the slumlords of Lima properties? I have seen some of the living conditions. I've had a lot of complaints by people that are living in homes, that are owned by Lima properties. I've heard people that, have, from people that have had problems with legal issues with Lima properties as well. I have actually put in a call to one of the owners of that establishment. I think that, not just to single out Lima properties, because I think that would be unfair, but I think that there are other landlords and other people that are that own houses in our city that aren't doing a very good job of taking care of them. I just had a talk with a constituent Tuesday about this, and really the truth is that we need landlords in our city. We need people that are here to rent houses and to provide that service for people, to provide quality houses for people. And we've got to make sure that we support those people. When it comes down to people that aren't taking care of their homes, that are putting people in positions that they shouldn't be, I think we've got to enforce codes. And more so than anything in our city right now, we've really got to enforce these codes that we've been neglecting and not putting as priority, and we've got to clean up our houses around here. So first off, we've got to start doing that. Secondly, we've got to not just take a punitive approach and come down on, some of these landlords, because as a small business owner, I understand that if you're in a business, to provide a service, you still want to try to provide an income for yourself, so you can pay your own bills, so you can take care of your family, so you can have a little bit extra to give to other people. And I think that we've got to understand that these margins in this type of field are not always very large. So if you're doing it right and you're doing a good job as a landlord, typically you're not making very much money. And we've got a housing stock right now in Lima that has not been taken care of for quite a long time. And so, I kind of liken that to a patient that may come into my office and, perhaps they haven't done anything very positive for their health in maybe the last 30 years. And the thing is, we've got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. And so we start with the simple things. We start with the easy things, and we start creating momentum, and we get that life force moving, and people start getting better and better. And I think that that's what we'll see in our city and our housing. We talked a lot about housing last week, so I'm not going to get too much more into this, but I'm an advocate for tiny homes. I think we need a lot more homes in our community. I think we need to be fixing our homes with one hand, and we need to be building new ones with the other, and we need to be working with our trade schools, our unions, our local unions, to build houses, new homes. especially tiny homes. And I think homes that are in a range that people can afford with the low monthly payment that they can actually own in 3 to 5 years. So homes that they can work to own outright without payment to a landlord or a bank. And so they've actually established home ownership and equity within their home. So let's see here if anybody over there has any questions. All right, Samantha says, I was born and raised in Lima, but I am in a different town now. I love your vision and what you're wanting to do for Lima. Thank you, Samantha, so much. If you were born and raised in Lima, I'm sure you still know some people around here. So go ahead and share this video. Maybe tag any of your friends that are voters here in the city, because this is truly a grassroots campaign. We're not backed by any kind of wealthy backers. We have taken $0 of corporate money to do this campaign right now. We're fueled by the people. We are fueled by people that don't have a lot of money. And it's amazing sometimes that the people that have the very least to share will share the most. And it's awesome. It's all love that's building this campaign right now. And I think that we're really reaching people, and I think people are seeing that what we're talking about isn't just the same old thing, just more of the status quo. We're really trying to create innovative solutions to fix some of the systems that are allowing these issues to manifest and to foster in our city. Let's see here. Yes, sense of belonging is medicine in itself. Absolutely, Sarah. I think that that's where we're, when it's funny because one of the other campaigns put a video talking about how we can make money off of our music culture and our arts and all this stuff, and we could create a new economy with this in Lima, Ohio. But I'll tell you what, and this is the difference between me and a lot of the other people around here. I've realized in my life already that if you're doing something just for money, it's never going to work out. And I think that we've got to do things with a focus on creating a culture and creating art and music and creating togetherness and relationships and building together, being together. And I think that these types of things are what we need to focus on. And when we find that, when we focus on creating that, I think all of the money and all the economic things that we've been suffering through in our city, the poverty issues, I think those things are going to take care of themselves. So, once again, it's one of those things that we've been trying to solve this problem here. But I tell a lot of patients, you can't get there from here. We've got to start with this. And when we satisfy this, satisfy this basic, foundational health and wellness in your body, your whole life is going to change. And I think that that's where we got to look at in our city. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Belonging is medicine. Connection is medicine. Really the three source energies that we have is our connection to God, our connection to the earth, and connection to each other. And all of those things create harmony and balance. And that's when we start to work with, divine energies, and we see things be transformed through alchemy, where we can turn things, that we may not have seen to be desirable into something that could be tremendous and amazing. And so that's what I hope to bring to Lima. I need to make sure when I do these that I bring some water with me. I don't talk this much usually. Celia Connor says, God bless you all, Halen's mom's son. So thank you, Celia. Thank you. Absolutely. God bless everybody here. Justin Schoonover says, I 100% agree. Thank you for answering my question. Absolutely. I think that that's something that, really as a doctor, for so long, I've really practiced explaining things to patients, to teaching them, educating them, not telling them what to do, but helping them to make a full informed decision, having all the facts that they need to know that to help them make the best decision for them. And so, I pride myself on being available to people, to answer questions. Everybody that messages me through Facebook and the email, I try to message everybody back. A lot of times people have teams that do that. but I don't think that anybody can represent myself as good as I can, represent me as good as I can myself. And so I try to do that. I try to respond to everybody. I try to be available. I try to, make sure that I'm, that I'm equal with people. And I think that, it is something that I think that we're going to see, a big difference in our administration, to have somebody that is inclusive, somebody that is open to people. And I think that it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. So Sarah Helen says, yes, I agree. A mindset to just make money can poison the energy of creating a sense of community. Absolutely. And that's something that, that leads me to another point we were just talking today. The Lima, I'm working right now to help, or I will be very soon, to help with the downtown farmers market. We actually did a farmers market in Shawnee in the last year. And it wasn't just a farmer's market, but it was more like homemade stuff, people that made jewelry or clothing, or that made magnets or buttons, or whatever kind of stuff that some people sewed. Some people did produce, others baked goods and things like that. Some people had businesses, some people it was a side hustle. But one of the most amazing things that I learned about this event is we were trying to figure out how much to charge people, to put their thing out there, to put their table and their tent out there, and to come out and be a part of it. And we eventually came to the conclusion, and I decided that I didn't want to charge people anything for coming out to be a part of our market, and that their presence was enough, and that their social network that they brought with them was something that contributed to everybody. And so what we found was the first week we had 12 people show up in the middle of a pouring rain. We were standing there holding our tents so they didn't blow away, but we had 12 vendors show up in that first week. And by the 6th week, I think we had 24. And by the 8th week, when we had our big finale at Milano's out on Elida Road, we had 30 tents show up. And I think it was just tremendous. And, the amazing things that we saw was people come together. People supported each other. They shared the event. It was like having, 20, 25, 30 different people that had some skin in the game, that wanted to see their friends out there, that wanted to see the other vendors do well. And it was just something that was quite amazing. All of these people linked in in a chat group on Facebook Messenger, and not only did they talk about the event and the marketplace that we did, but they talked about each other, and they supported each other, and it just created this sense of community that is amazing. And I can't wait to have it again this year. And I think that these are things that ideas that we have to look into in Lima and understand, okay, do we want this to grow? What is our outlook? What is our vision for this? Are we trying to make some money on this? Or are we trying to create a marketplace and a community where people can get together and share? And I'll tell you what, more so and more important than this little bit of money that you make at the beginning is the product of what happens when people get together and they have a safe place where they can share ideas and to support each other and to grow and to love each other. And, I think that if I were to choose what I would want for our city, I would want to have the latter. And that's been my vision for this city for so long. And so that's why we've got to make sure that we don't just monetize everything right from the start. I was talking with somebody today, and I made the point of that you can't harvest from a seed. You can't harvest from a seed, and you have to plant those seeds, and you have to let them grow, and you have to nourish them, and you have to love them, and you have to water them, and you have to, take good care of it. And then at the end, if you do all those things right, what you get is a tree or a fruit, and you get something from that little seed. And to really believe that this big tree and that everything in creation around us came from a seed, it's nothing short of a miracle. It came from a little seed. It's nothing short of a miracle. And so we're living in a place that, when we abide by the laws, the natural laws, and we, do those things that we know how to do, that we can see amazing things grow in our community. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to plant seeds and to see things grow. Taft Mangus says, who's the first person you hire if you are elected? That's a pretty good question. Who's the first person I hire if I am elected? Oh, I actually have one in mind already, but we haven't released this information yet. And so, Taft, when I release this information, I'm going to write your name down, and you're going to be the first person that I let know. But we're going to let everyone know, most likely with an endorsement here in the next coming weeks. So I look forward to spilling those beans, because I think it's been something that we've had in the making, and I think that it's been being prepared, and everything else has been just tremendous. Sarah says, yes, we visited the market. Thanks for doing that. Absolutely. It was one of the highlights of the autumn this year, is to just get everybody together. And I met so many people through that. And, a lot of the people that I met through that event are some of my strongest supporters, as I run for mayor here, and we carry on with this campaign. So, it's one of those things that sometimes you get out what you put in, and if you give without reserve, people give back. And one of the things that I found is that people will do almost anything for people that they love, and I think that most of us, I think we all really love each other. We just don't know it yet. So we got to get together, and we got to get to know each other. Brian says, poverty is the cause of most of Lima's ills. Wish it would solve itself, but dollars make the most sense. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to try not to get on a tangent too far, but one day I was sitting around thinking, and I said, why do people work jobs that they hate? Okay, why do people work jobs that they hate? Why do they waste their life going to jobs that, hurt their bodies, that are soul-sucking, life just wrenching jobs? Why do they go to these jobs that they hate every single day for 30 or 40 years? And then at the end, they survived, they made it, they may have had some good times, but, so much of their life was given away. Well, I think that people work those jobs because they need basic things. They need food, they need a place for shelter, and they need some finances to take care of their family. And I think that if we can create jobs that support that in our community, that create safety nets for people and allow us to grow our own food and distribute that food to people, we start creating homes that are economically efficient for people, so that they're not just spending all their money away. There's ways to increase prosperity in our city and in life, and I think that we do that by creating equity through homes and housing. We talked about tiny homes, and I think that we can create the ability for people to own their own homes. We need more homeowners in our community. We need more people putting down roots, and we need more stable neighborhoods. And I think that when we find these things, that we're going to have that support system where people can help themselves out of poverty, instead of looking at a system and a government that wants to just give everything to everybody. I think that we've got to create a space that allows people to empower themselves. And that's not to say that every single person is going to take that opportunity, but say we get 5% or 10%, say more people take that opportunity. We're going to see a shift in our change and a shift in our city. We do. Yeah, absolutely. We need a grant writer here in Lima, Ohio. So if anybody's watching this video, the last couple that I've done, we're looking for a grant writer. We've got work for you right away. So let us, get together. Message me, get in touch with our campaign, get in touch with me. We need somebody to help us take advantage of the funds that are out there in our federal government, in our state government, to restore buildings, to do renovations, to build new houses, to plant gardens. All of these things, I think that, we're looking at, a city with, a lot of resources, and I think that we're not directing our focus towards the things that we need the most. And I think that if we utilize the resources that we have, we allocate the funds, even though we have right now, we don't need a whole lot of extra money to do these things. We just need to take the money that's not being spent effectively and move it into a place where we can actually help people with it. And I think that, we would welcome that extra money from the outside, but I think really, like, we've got this. We've got everything that we need right here. Sarah says, when I first became an arborist, I didn't think I'd be able to make a living or in money in Lima, Ohio doing it. I just didn't think there was a culture for it. But I was so passionate about taking care of the trees in our community. And guess what? I now make a living talking to people in Lima, Ohio about their trees. That was my goal. And it did happen. Yeah, absolutely. I think that, planting those seeds of inspiration and, helping people, to see that they have hope and possibility for something greater, and moving into your purpose and fulfilling your dreams. And I think that that's absolutely the kind of space that we want to see, for our people of our city. Real estate builds multi-generational wealth. Well said. Absolutely. Real estate, and even, these small, tiny homes, when people can, be putting, a chunk of their money into, their home, something that if they take care of will appreciate and value over time. It's definitely, just a win-win for everybody in our community. So absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. All right, so we are down at the bottom of the list here. Wait, here's another question. All right, keep asking questions. I got time. Judy Joe Frisbee says, I do not live in Lima, but if I did, I would vote for Josh Hayes. He's an honest, intelligent, educated, and naturally cares for people and for your health. These are qualities I would look for in a mayor. Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I think that I'm flattered and humbled, but absolutely, I've found that the most fulfilling things in my life, experiences in my life, has come from helping people, being at service to people. And I found that when I made that commitment within myself to be a light unto others, and to be a service to people, it opened up all the doors. It's just it's really like the skeleton key that opens up every door. When you really love people, when you care for people, when you do for people, they'll do back for you. One of my friends that I met, around the country, among my travels, was from North Carolina, and one of the times she came up to Lima to visit and to hold a healing class at my clinic, and she brought me this little cross, and it was a little cross keychain, and on it said 1 John 4:19, and she didn't know that 419 was our area code here. So we are in the 419 here, and it was, it wasn't luck and it wasn't coincidence, but it was something, that she brought me this keychain that said 1 John 4:19. And if you look up 1 John 4:19, and it said on the keychain, it said, we love because he loved us first. And I think that that's something that, I really looked at that and I thought, man, that's got to be, a message. And, I've looked into that and meditated on it, and, helped me understand it more, is that somebody's got to put that love out there first. Somebody's got to put themselves out to be vulnerable, to be open, to be out in the public, and to talk about these things. And when you do that, it comes back. And once again, people will absolutely do anything for people that they love. And I want to be in a place where everybody can benefit from that, and we can work together with that spirit and with that energy to really cultivate a place of peace and prosperity, balance and harmony. I think right here, right now in Lima, we can create those things. So let's see here. Imagine art creations. There's no place for kids to grow safely. Would there be any plan in order for kids to find something constructive that's not based on school grades? Absolutely. We've been working with a group called the Lima Mural Project for a long time. And they have been actually painting murals around the city, and we've been working to create events that allow for everybody to come out and to be a part of it, to create larger than life art in public spaces, and where kids can come out and be a part. But I think beyond that, I think that we've got to look at what kind of things that we need, or what kind of things kids like in certain age groups, and we've got to develop more of those things. There's actually there's a lot of nonprofits around here that are catering to kids after school. We've got to support these things as a government. One of the wild things that I've found, just talking to people and organizations around our city. And I just really I never thought this would be the case, that our local city government allocates, very little funds for a lot of our organizations in our city that are doing a lot of big time work for people in the community. So places like the men's shelter gets zero funding from the city. Places like Our Daily Bread gets no funding from the city. Places like Guiding Light, the women's shelter, LACNIP, all these places are not supported financially by the city at all. And so, we've really got to support these places that are helping. But once again, like you're saying there, we've also got to take care of some of these root problems, and we've got to create connection and socialization within people, and build relationships, so we have that community safety net. So now we're not losing somebody to incarceration, or we're not having somebody be killed in our city. Justin Schoonover says, I'm excited to call you our mayor, Hayes 2021. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. I'm excited to, really bring these new ideas to Lima. And like I was telling a friend earlier, as mayor, I definitely don't know all the answers, and I'm not going to come in and, pretend that I do. And in fact, the position of mayor is more of like a figurehead. Is somebody that is a leader for the community, somebody that is, to be, a liaison from the people to the city council, and to help to find out what is needed for our community, and help to present those ideas to our council so it can be voted on and put into action and put into place. A mayor is only good as the person around him, and so the people around him. And so I think it's very important that we've got to recognize that, we're not just voting for a mayor, we're voting for an administration around him. And I can tell you that everybody in my administration will be highly qualified. It will be a merit-based organization, and it will be inclusive and diverse, because I think that the more we bring people from different outlooks and different backgrounds, the more we're going to find the solutions that we need for our city. If the citizens of Lima vote somebody into the position of mayor that's already been in the city, that's already been working in the city, and that already has deep relationships with some of these people, that are not doing good things within our city, we're going to get more of the same. And I think that we've got to make sure that, we're not just voting for change, that we're actually voting for new ideas, not just retreading the same thing that we've heard from politicians over and over and over again. And I think that that's what really sets me out, is I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner. I'm somebody who, loves people, who puts people first. And I think that those types of things are what, people really need. Not so much just somebody that's going to serve the interest of these corporations, of these wealthy groups, and that's somebody that's going to actually listen to and to take care of the people. Sarah Hilton says, I've had many ask me about your political party affiliation. I answer independent, but I guess that was just an assumption. Is that so? Absolutely. So as far as my political affiliation, I have been asked this question a lot, and it's something that I kind of, I like to be, truthful about, but I don't usually give the typical answer. Actually, I have a lot of, Republican traits, a lot of Republican background. I served in the military. I've been a business owner for 10 years. It's something that when I started into my adult life, I registered as a Republican when I was 18. Typically, I don't vote just along party lines. So I vote for progress and change. I vote for people who represent the people and democracy more so than anything. So as far as my democratic views that I have, I believe that our community and the government and our people have a responsibility to each other, to help each other and to help take care of those that are less fortunate. So I'm an advocate for people more so than anything. The issues, I have stances on issues, but they don't fall along party lines. And so, this is why in this election, which is a nonpartisan election, I've chosen to run independent. And what that means is that I'm not backed by a Republican Party. I'm not backed by a Democratic Party. I'm backed by the people. And I think that, we're going to find that, the people that are backed by those kind of corporate and wealthy interests, they have to fall in line. They have to say what they're told, and they're going to fall in line and do exactly the same thing that's been happening in our city over and over and over again. And so, we've really seen that the infighting between Republicans and Democrats has created huge issues, huge rifts in our city, huge rifts in our county, and our state and our nation. We are in a nation divided right now, and I think that we need somebody that's ready to step up and to work with Republicans, to work with Democrats, and to bring that together so we can have some peace. So we can actually see some results with these things. And that's one of the things that my platform is really based upon, is that you would look at my platform and you wouldn't be able to tell whether it is a Republican or Democratic platform, because this platform is based on people, it's based on unity and inclusion. And I think that if we can get focused on one common goal, we can get all the people focused on one common goal, and we can do that and get it to happen. We start to get that feel-good effect. We start to get some confidence, build some trust in each other, and I think that we can start to work together and see, magnificent things within our city. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And down at the bottom of the list, any more questions from anybody? Any questions or comments? I did see that, I'll comment on this. I did see that the local union organizations all supported another candidate for mayor today, which is pretty interesting. I'm not very versed on all this politics stuff, but I have actually reached out to some of the local union workers and the local union presidents and representatives, and I have got crickets. I've gotten crickets in return. No phone call answers, sometimes not responses, and so it's something that I've found that they don't want to talk to me, they don't want to work with me, but also, I watched them on Facebook today say that they've chosen their candidate that they want to run, or that they want to back and that they want to endorse. And I find that kind of funny and interesting that they didn't want to talk to me first before they chose a candidate to endorse. And also that they're endorsing a candidate that is part of the administration that just is right now watching 3,800 local jobs by union workers being picked up and brought outside workers into Lima to cover those jobs. And so I think that, once again, we see the system at work. We see that, the people that are in charge want to stay in charge. And I think that, I encourage people, I encourage you all to talk to each other, talk to your friends, talk to your families, talk to your neighbors, and let them know that, the power is in the people. The power is not in these, these figureheads and these people that have been living in, and proliferating this illusion that they're the ones that are in charge. The power's in the people. And when we stand up and we stand together, we'll take charge and we'll take ownership of what's going on here. Questions, comments, snide remarks, says Ashley. Man, this week, it's been interesting, all of the focus and sometimes the scrutiny about me and my life. But this week has really been a step up at it. So I think people are seeing my face. People are seeing me on the billboard now. They're recognizing me in different places, which is nice when people are nice and kind, which is fun. And it's not so nice when people are rude. But it's something that I'm ready to take on, and I'm ready to be the face of this people's movement. And I've got big, strong, broad shoulders, and I'm built for this. My time and experience in the military has brought me to a point where I won't be bullied, I won't be pushed around, and I won't be bought. And I definitely, will make sure that I do the right thing for people, and I put people first. Celia says they've already paid for their candidate. Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that, building and doing this grassroots movement is all of our money that we brought into our campaign has come from people. It's come from human beings that want to see change for Lima. And a lot of the money that's brought into some of my colleagues or the other candidates' campaigns are coming from corporate interests. They're coming from unions, and a lot of my donations come in the form of $20, $50, sometimes $10, $5. These union organizations are sometimes putting in thousands upon thousands of dollars into these campaigns to ensure that things stay just the way they are. And and that's one thing that I shared today is a George Carlin meme, and I hope everybody remembers George Carlin. Rest in peace to George Carlin. But he said it's a big old game. It's a big club, and you're not in it. And I think that that's one thing that we've got to consider. Are we going to bring somebody in to lead our city that's going to be inclusive to everybody? Or are we going to bring somebody in that is simply continuing the status quo, simply becoming part of the club? How will you negotiate with big business in Lima? I think that's a great question. I think that that's been something that has been of topic in the past. Big business in Lima, we've got big businesses already. We've got a lot of jobs for these big businesses. I think what we need in Lima more so than big business is small business. And we need to bring a variety of new small businesses into our city, and we need to work to support them in their growth and development. And so, I've looked at other cities. I've been downtown Bellefontaine, and I found that they created 300 new jobs in their city, just in small local downtown businesses. And that is a city that's the size of about a third of Lima, Ohio. And so if we were to extrapolate that into our downtown, a much bigger area, a place with more, more money, more population, I think we could see ourselves, in the course of a couple of years, create 1,000 jobs downtown for, local people that are doing things in service and that are contributing to our community then. Nikki says, I would love to see more resources for homeschoolers in our community. This is a growing movement and most co-ops I have found in the area are very religion-based and not too accepting of outsiders. Any insight on changing this in the future? Yeah, I think that that's something that, is an issue with people. I think that that's something that I'm going to have to look into, actually. I am versed with homeschooling and doing your education for at home for your kids. My oldest three children are homeschooled. I'm also understanding that that more people are doing homeschool more and more now with the coronavirus thing happening. So I think that we do need more resources for people that are homeschooling. I would really like to see, in my mind, I don't know how this is created, but I'd like to see some of the tiny schoolhouses brought back where people are working with a curriculum that doesn't have to be decided or mandated by the state, that people get together and they work to teach their kids and other people's kids in the communities. And I think that really ultimately, I think that we need, for some of those things, I would think that we need to stop looking at our government to take care of these things, and we need to be innovative as citizens and create organizations and to as Terrence McKenna says, find the others. And I think that as we, work to find the others that are going through the same things that we're experiencing, we can get together and to create solutions that are beneficial for everyone. So yeah, thank you for the question. Brian says, particularly waterways and water contracts. Big jobs, water, we do have water around here. I think that we've sold that as a commodity for a long time, but we're not the only city with water. I think that we need to, create the identity that we want for our city, quit trying to court and bring in some of these large corporations that don't serve the best interest of our city and our people. And I think that we need to build things from the bottom up. If we want to do something with all the extra water that we have, we should be watering plants, growing our own food and medicine, because I think this is something that actually produces a positive outcome for people. When I first became, all right, I got that one already. And Imagine Art Creation says, "Good look, sir. I like the new billboard above the black and white taxi." Yeah, absolutely. We had 4 billboards come out this week here surrounded throughout Lima. One on Elm Street above the black and white cab company. One on Allentown, and that one is above Lima Transmission. So shout out to those guys. They're just neighbors of the billboard, but we've been in and spoken to the people in those businesses, and they say that that they support what we're doing, and they offered help, and so we really appreciate that. We have a billboard on Central Avenue, just right beside Our Daily Bread, which is a place that I support tremendously. I think Mr. Randy Kimple is a great man. I think that what he's doing is I think it's God's work, and I think that he's doing tremendous things for our city. And the last billboard is over by it's on St. John's, right next to Kibbe, right by the railroad track. And so, if you guys are out and about, check those out, take a picture of them, and check it out. Where are we walking on Sunday? To be determined. Not real sure exactly where we're going on Sunday, but we're going to put out a map. But I absolutely invite everybody to come out and to be a part of our walking group this weekend. I've got a list of signs that need to be put in people's yards, and we've got a lot of people around Lima that we need to talk to, that we need to go to, and make sure that they know that there's a candidate out there that's ready to change things and to make a more people-centered, focused government for Lima, Ohio, for our city. So absolutely looking forward to putting some signs out this weekend. We've also got some big orange signs. They're going to be finished painting very soon. So if you have a yard that is high visibility with a lot of traffic, message me, let me know. And also, if you're willing to let us put a big 4-foot by 8-foot bright orange sign that might light up the night in your front yard, please send me a message and we'll get you added to the list. And when we get those painted and get those finished up, we'll make sure we get those delivered and put in place. So I think we have expired our time tonight. Dang, you guys kept me in overtime tonight. You guys kept me in overtime tonight, so we're going to wrap things up here. Oh no, Brian, we're not forgetting the trade jobs. Trade jobs are the foundation of our community. Those trade jobs, those skilled workforces and skilled workers, we need them more than anything in our community right now. We need people who have learned trades, people who have, are planting things, know how to grow things, or specialize in agriculture, construction and building, culinary. We need all those things to help heal our city. So I will 100% support our trade schools, Lima Senior, Apollo, all of those places that, we're developing workers that are creating things that bring back to our city and that build back to our city. So that's the lowdown on trade schools and whatnot. So it is 8:17 and we've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. So, I'm going to wrap it up here. But I thank everybody so much for all of your comments, everybody for tuning in. Even the silent people that are watching, I know you're watching, and I'm watching you too. And I'm gonna cut out here. I'm gonna share a talk that I had with one of my friends this week, and he called me on Tuesday, or we talked on Tuesday, and he said, "How you doing with things?" And I told him that I was a little bit nervous. You never know what people are gonna do. And he told me, "You are absolutely doing the right thing in your city. You're leading people to something better and a new way of being." And he said that I should not be nervous whatsoever, because what was really happening right here is the people are on trial. And, the people are on trial whether they want, and they have a chance to decide whether they want something new and different and something better, or if they want to stay in the same way that they've been for so long. And so, we've got to make sure that, more so than anything, that people see that there's a choice, that there's an option. So I encourage you to talk to your friends. I encourage you to talk to your neighbors. Meet up with us and, help us do some canvassing, help us get the word out. And, I feel confident in this. I feel very, very confident that what we're doing right now is what it takes to win this campaign and to bring Lima to a new way. And I think that we're going to keep doing it. I'm full of motivation. I'm full of energy. I'm full of life. I was built for this, and I want to invite everyone else that is just as motivated, inspired as I am to come out and to be a part of this movement, because it's something special, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and I want everybody else to be a part of it as well. So thank you guys so much. Peace, namaste, blessings, all those good things. We'll see y'all soon.